Welcome, Karen Ann Lucic McDonald here. I am with my friend and my colleague in the biofeedback and holistic health industry. I'm here with Marianne today. So I would like to have you be very aware of some of the things that we're doing in our holistic fields. And Marianne has graciously and kindly accepted to be, I don't want to say my guinea pig, but my friend.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to put our necks out there today, but we want to talk a little bit about what would you say, Marianne? Holistic health, and we thought we'd cover some different areas that are really near and dear to a lot of our hearts. A lot of people are having trauma. I'd say even post-traumatic trauma. Definitely a lot of intestinal, gut, GI issues because just we're not digesting life anymore. It's getting hard, I think, for a lot of people. And then, of course, that's affecting the sleep because the toxins are having a hard time being removed. So in traditional Chinese medicine, that will show basically the circadian rhythm. So a lot of people, they're just not releasing stuff. So we're going to see them waking up. And a lot of people don't realize that's also getting up to pee and urinate in the middle of the night. They don't associate that with being toxic. It's like, oh, well, I have to get up at 2 or I get up at 4 or, 2 and 4 or whatever. But life is stressful these days. I know I'm in the fire capital of everything right now. Like I'm getting it from one end of the Kootenays and the other end below Washington and the other end from the Okanagan, right? So I feel like the big Smoky, the bear mama here. But I thought we could talk a little bit about, what that was. And I think, we're all feeling that. So I kind of thought we could look at some of the emotional release, the physical release. We'll do a quick little genius because I think everyone should have one. There should be one in every home as far as I'm concerned, because it's affecting everyone's like central nervous system. So we're all getting that. So it's affecting us on a somatic level, like I said, physically, mentally, and of course the biofield. And I'm so grateful to my friend Sabrina Wallace because she's a really one that's been bringing out biofield, that most of our immune system is in this biofield that we can't see. People call it the auric field, or we will literally, there is a word for it medically. Nursing, we were taught it is the biofield. It's the immune system. That's why we did ultrasounds and we did thermals and stuff like that, because we could capture part of it. But with what Ryan Williams has furthered and developed with his Genius Insight health apps, is we can see that biofield and we can see it flat and we can see it in segments, just like an MRI. So to me, I've always said there should be another field in here of the Department of Radiology, because we're doing imaging and we're getting back a computerized, digitalized form of what's going on with that. And I think with a lot of things is like, I was also talking earlier with you, is that a friend of mine, Tony Pantalesco, we've just noticed so much EMF and radiation, and now 5 and 6G is up. It's inside us. And a lot of us are getting heavy legs. And I don't know how many times I've walked up and down my hallway and I'm going, I feel like my calves are just like, what's going on? And these are all symptoms of that. So anyway, welcome to it's not even my Frequency Friday show, but welcome to my show. And thank you for being here. So, what have you been noticing, in your life or with people, just in general, where you've been at? What sort of symptoms are popping up for a lot of people that you feel that we should address today?
Well, first I want to officially say thank you so much, Grandmother Karen. I'm so grateful to do this with you. All of the things that you mentioned are all things that I'm dealing with. I mean, I had childhood sexual abuse. I'm still dealing with PTSD. I've had a lot of stress. I have gut issues, sleep issues. And so, so the body is not responding as well as I want, but getting the biofeedback, the genius, has been life-changing. And to have it so user-friendly is amazing. My gratitude in doing this with you is that I wanted someone that I can trust, that I feel safe with, to go through this with me so that I can have better information and it'll help my wellness journey for sure. The fact that you're a nurse, so you did traditional medicine, and then you've got such a vast amount of knowledge, like I'm blown away by everything that you know, even how you read the genius and how you read the aura, because you're also an iridologist, is so fascinating to me. And so with all of your knowledge, you read the genius a lot better than probably most people on the planet. And so it'll be really fun to kind of go down that rabbit hole and see where my body's at today. I have had a lot of gastrointestinal issues, like a sore stomach. I've had a sore stomach for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, let's look into that. And the PTSD thing, all of that stuff. I'm intrigued by everything.
Well, one of the things that's really interesting is that when people, and this is what I love about it with Ryan, is he says, it's like, instead of just going to get a car and do a test drive, we can actually all use this for a couple weeks, like 1 to 2 weeks. And he's invented probably over 100 apps. Most people don't realize that. So when we came from the old Skio days, which I was showing you back here, that's the blue tech there. That's like, what's 50 grand? So to have something that you could put literally $50 down and basically lease to own or rent to own, whatever way you want to look at it, I was just like blown, and I actually find this much quicker, faster, and more accurate than all the other different kind of biofeedback systems that have been out there. And this is really different because we didn't just go from biofeedback, from hooking people up with, sensors and head harnesses and all sorts of stuff, is that we were also using these trays to make remedies. But what happened is Ryan goes, aha, let's do this portable. So he was one of the first people to put it on a phone or an iPad. And I thought, oh, isn't this cool? I feel like my pocket doctor, like, I feel like Mrs., Dr. Spock or something, right? And that we literally can scan people through this because of the plasma technology to where we've come in the last 30 years since I've been doing this. And one of the most interesting thing is Ryan brought to the forefront the voice part. And myself and people like Dr. Drake know that, in our fields, we don't have to draw blood. We don't have to take biopsies. We don't have to do things like that anymore, take urine samples or feces samples, because we've known that the voice through fast Fourier technique, which was developed at MIT in Boston, is basically about 90% as accurate. So why would I? Like, unless I'm in a car accident and maybe need a trauma surgeon, no, because we have the ability to make the frequency or the sound of that plant, of that aloe vera, of that frankincense, of that lavender, of the valerian, of the oregano. And these can replace a lot of things, obviously in the pharmaceuticals and drugs, and you can give the frequency of it, and you can't overdose someone's body or the biofield, it just goes right through. So, but like I said, we bring that knowledge to you. The more alkaline you are, the more grounded you are, the more the colon is cleaned out and things like that. Those are all, I still think makes the Genius work better. And now that we've brought in the Neurovizr, which is an incredible tool here that we're, using with a head harness, and we can take the light and the sound and close your eyes, and the neuroplasticity is actually giving the sound and giving you a color. So you can actually see the color of frankincense or the color of whatever, but getting our brain waves, because everyone's being scrambled. I mean, we know what's happening now, but you bring some really great points. So I'm going to screen share here.
I just want to say, I love the Neurovizr. I'm so grateful you told me to get it, because it has been, same with the Genius, the two most life-changing things that I have done. And I love getting into the Genius for even like, what are my food sensitivities right now? And what foods do I stay away from? I've got a pain here. Is it a meridian? Is it an organ? Is it a muscle?
For sure.
Like it's so therapeutic, but it's also fun.
Absolutely.
And the whole self-diagnosis thing, I love it. I just love it.
Well, this is the whole thing about self-assessment. That's what bio is, life information back. It's no different than me putting my mood ring on here, right? I mean, it can tell you what kind of mood, because we can profile in the physical, the mental, the emotional, and that physical could be your spine, what's your C1 doing, what's your L3 doing, what is it? Is it inflamed? Is it sublux? So you can actually see the spine. We can do, as you said, allergies or sensitivities, and do allergy desensitization. You can look at hormones. And again, minerals, vitamins, proteins, amino acids, all that. So as a holistic, registered dietitian, a lot of people that are in holistic health, that is paramount. I mean, my clients are all, is it coffee? Is it black tea, green tea? I'm still, how much is the pH affecting, which is almost everything. So, it's little things like that, or, the wheat sensitivity. And a lot of people don't associate these aches and pains. And just quickly before I start, I ended up actually breaking an ankle. And one of the first things on mine showed the actual 3 fractures in the break in the foot. And one of the other things is, as a nurse, I worked on isolation 40 years ago. And one of the first outbreaks of a biotech thing, which was called SARA, that now we see all over the place in the chemtrails. But back then there was only 2 hospitals, one in Saskatoon and one in New York. And I was part of the isolation team. And that was the first thing it brought up under biowarfare for bioweaponized bacteria and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm on board, because, who else? There was no one else that knew I'd been working in the hospital with SARA, years before that.
Well, and that's why you had so many libraries available about all of that kind of stuff.
For sure.
Like, it's amazing. I'm so grateful to have those as well now.
Well, we're going to take a little peek. So I'm going to do some screen sharing here. So we're not going to reveal anything or, unveil anything that's too revealing here. But what we are going to do, we're going to do a general thing just to give you kind of like how you can play with it. So the libraries that myself and people like Marianne can make are over and above. And mine aren't even on the, as you know, the public sector, right? So we'll see what happens. But a lot of people's are, but mine definitely are not. But, they can be very, very helpful because, we can all expand and extrapolate the areas that we have. So if you're ready for the big unveiling, we're ready to go here. So I'm going to screen share here in a minute, you guys. And you'll be able to see what actually myself or a client or my friends can see. So if you've got an iPad, it's really nice because what it does is it interfaces with the actual device. And from there, you get to see as much excitement as Marianne and I will see. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen right now, right? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to add a little like music in there. I usually don't when I'm doing clients, but we're going to add a little sound effects just for excitement today. So we're going to get a voice imprint, and some people just say their name. I'll have them say the vowels, or if I ask my children how their day was, I just get a voice print. But we do actually use the vowels, A, E, I, O, U. They tie into the sacred geometry, but also into the traditional Chinese medicine. And from there, we can extrapolate onto a computer digitalized of, again, it's like muscle testing. Do you need lavender? Yes or no? Do you have candida? Yes or no? Have you been exposed to this shedding? Yes or no? And so that's how quick it's going to be within seconds. So without further ado, I'm going to hit the red mic and I'm going to have you just repeat the vowels for me, please. Go.
A, E, I, O, U, 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 A, E, I, O, U.
Now, see, that's a voice print. It's like a thumbprint. And again, when I talk about holographic medicine or templating, that's what I'm talking about. When you talked about iridology, reflexology, live blood cell, I look at stuff from a holographic point of view. So very successful voice, we got that. And so what you're going to hear too is it's going to convert the voice into a computer language. So then it's going to muscle test against the soundboard. So really, I feel like I feel like the director in kind of the orchestra. And the cool thing about biofeedback is our organs are no different than instruments. So it gives it the right pitch and it can tell when it's out of tune. And that's why it's called biofield tuning. And when we make herbs and remedies, which then could imprint water or crystals or you and run stuff through, always, I said people should always have headphones. Always had headphones because you're running now the binaural beats and you're running through the solfeggio tones where they're monochronic or isochronic tones. And that is the key. And then if you have not been injected and you're not pregnant and have pacemakers and other kind of electronics in you and graphene, then we can run bracelets and sensors on it, and then we can run magnetic currents through. And that's getting closer, similar to the plasma technology of what Royal Raymond Rife was doing. So we've got that. That's your voice imprint. And all those numbers on the left are going to be significant because they're going to actually tell us what the range is and where exactly this is your, just like me taking blood out, that's your fingerprint, that's your voice print. So, and AI is optional. A lot of people are like, oh no, AI. I just want to point that it's an artifact or an intelligent artifact. It's optional. So you don't have to use it. A lot of times I don't. But anyway, in here, we're just going to go to next. And again, the voice is being analyzed in hertz and it's called fast 48 technique. You can look that up. And it's accurate to within a sixth of a decimal point. That's how accurate this is. That's why I said it's just about as accurate as taking blood out. So why would I do it and go to a lab? So there was your old one. You have look at, you're in the same position, but we got a new shirt. So you can take an old picture, or today we're going to get one. You can take an old existing picture if you want to do that. And look at that smile there today. So we're going to go for today's, more, quicker the better, but I've used stuff from 2-3 weeks ago, and a lot of times we'll do it for houses. And we will be doing holistic vet. I've done a lot of holistic vet med because we have that as well. So if we want to have an affirmation, you can put in whatever language you want. I'll just sometimes put I am healthy, or I vibrate at whatever thing. So we'll just put this in for now, or my knee is flexible, or I am vibrant if you've got pain, things like that. So it's kind of like a positive affirmation. And when we rectify, usually over about 40%, which you'll see at the bottom, then that is like feeding us a little dose of happy affirmations to us. And again, it's your voice. So we know that we create our own, reality, and that's part of it. So one button, as you know what it is, the red button with begin analysis. So in here, you'll see we have physical, mental, and emotional part, and the libraries we make where we can share between ourselves as well. So those are available on the thing. So what's your favorite part of the Genius? And as we talked about this Neurovisr, it's going to be flipping around here too. So that's the Neurovisr we're talking about that works with our Genius as well to neurosync the brain with light. And now we get a light show. I feel like the Cirque du Soleil of healers, we are blazing the trails through the cosmos here. No question. So anyway,
I think what I like most about it is, like, I know that a lot of things, the root cause of a lot of things is emotional. And certainly all the trauma that I've experienced comes down to emotional. So to be able to add the emotional and all the brain stuff to pretty much everything I do has been very important. And I've always noticed that spiritual protection and sacred geometry seem to be chronic blue, which means chronic long-term issues. And so I really, really like to put those in. But also to know that when I put in vitamins, minerals, and amino acids, I'm actually getting vitamins, minerals, and amino acids without me taking a supplement. And it's just so cool. But because I also have the imprinter machine, then I can imprint and create my own vitamins as well. And so as much as it is the most therapeutic tool I have ever run across, it's like fun. And whether I'm doing something basic or doing something intricate, like I just can go down rabbit holes. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. And then I check the aura again and see how it's different. It's just,
it's a wealth of information, and this allows me, I haven't had a health card for like decades, so I don't have any licenses and stuff like that for decades either. But one of the things I always go into, I like to do aura. Okay, so what everyone gets to try out on their trial, or if you want to, like I said, purchase one, you could get a hold of myself or Marianne, is that one of the things in here is that we've got physical, mental, emotional. There is over sometimes 30,000 frequencies or 40,000 frequencies because our machines keep evolving because we can add to them. So I appreciate what Ryan did, but if you want to put your own company like Young Living or doTERRA or something specific in here, you can do entire things. Like I've done isogenics, I've done Nevessence oils, because I'm also do aromatherapy and stuff. Or as a colon hydrotherapist, I might want to imprint a whole bunch of things to put into enemas or colon hydrotherapy for additives and stuff too. But
which I did as well.
Yeah, and I will do
I imprinted water and put it into the end of my colonic treatment.
And it works great. It's colon hydrotherapists will go, what did you just do? Because it hits the system like mainlining, like when you do suppositories, but enemas or any kind of like vaginal pearls, anything that will go in is 100% absorbed immediately.
Well, my colonics therapist is coming over tomorrow because she wants to see this, because it blew her mind that we did that. And now she thinks that she might want to do this as part of her business because it would be an amazing add-on.
And I used that for I trained all my staff in it when I had my centers in Saskatoon and Moberly here now, like on the road here. But one of the things as well is that there are so many different venues to go down. So you have every category, and every category you can just do separately or make these combined, I call it my medicine chest, but anyways, the main trays here. So one of the things I like to do, and like you said, there's emotional things like neurotransmitters, there's flower essences, things that might work more on the emotional end, also head injuries, and I will look at EEGs to see what we can do to pick for the Neurovisr, because sometimes people are in a lot of trauma. They're like a beta fighting fish, or they're not getting into the delta states of sleep. In here, I love traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic, which I trained in Panchakarma, is that you can go into the, traditional Chinese medicine and look at anyone through an Ayurvedic. And if I really want to go down and say, oh, what's going on in that, pericardium, like, is that really part of our past life and what's holding us back? But I mean, this is where you get into a lot of like root chakra and stuff like that. But you can see it's one of the main things that connects everything. If we don't, look after issues now or from childhood, they're going to come back and they can affect in any different form, right? And there's an emotion connected to each one of those as well, which I made the libraries for. But anyway, there's traditional Chinese medicine. And just to show someone, I like doing the auras always first, because to me, it's like going for your, MRI or a CAT scan or your thermal imaging. And it's like a mood ring. I want to see, do you look like a, happy pink flamingo or like, Barney, the purple dragon or whatever, right? But
I always look at it like, where am I now? And then where am I going to be in 10, 20 minutes or an hour or whatever I do?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's pretty.
there's a beautiful aura. There's Marianne in all her glory today. You see a lot of that hot fuchsia. So again, I like Reese Thomas, who we're doing through the Reese Thomas Institute. When you start learning about, there's more than 7 chakras. So even if we worked on a base 12 or a base 16 or 17, whatever you want to go, is that you will see the energy in there. And again, you want to see it's defined. There's maybe a little bit of gray we want to work on. So is it in the physical, mental, emotional, causal? And just like you hear with using tuning forks, like with, Eileen McKissick, and they'll teach, your issues are out here from childhood or, other lives or connections, that cosmos connection that we need to deal with. So again, I almost look at like trees of a ring or iridology, right? So I'm looking at it and going, this is interesting. So again, it's where it wants to work in that moment today. And so we put it here, and then I like looking at the flat plate, right? This to me is sometimes even more accurate. Is it really hot pink? So we'd like to see that hot pink all over. I always feel like when I look like a hot fuchsia flamingo, I'm on my game. You're just allowing all the energies to come in. If there are blockages, like maybe it's kind of gray, that could be from shedding or intermixing or transfection or too much Wi-Fi or, smoke haze or whatever. If it's gray underneath, there's not enough earthing and grounding. And I want you to start thinking of like the 12 different meridian lines and then you in the center. It's kind of like 13. Where that one comes. That's a secret, but that's okay. So we look at the tree of life and different things like that. So what is that going on that left side, which will be the right side? Is there some liver stagnation? Is there some grounding still issues or things like that not being released? If it's a little bit on the browny gray end, again, not being released through the system. And how do we release? Descending colon. We're not removing enough stuff. And again, there could be a block or something like that to what's in there. So you kind of see that, grid like that fountain coming through if you've seen the tour. So I like to do that, and we have the option here to export it. So if I wanted to send it, say, hey Marianne, I want to send this picture of you because you look so pretty, in here, or switch to whatever I want to look at. I want to send it to Marianne. I can send it by email, or I can go in here and actually send it to you, and off you go. It will be in your quanta capsule, which allows us to give any sort of frequencies to a client at a distance. So a lot of people for getting these for $65, you own it forever and ever, whenever, is that you can receive frequencies and listen to it, not just for listening for a session for half an hour, but you can listen to it all week, 24/7, like your own radio station, your own solfeggio tones and binaural beats, right? And again, and please do headaches. So anyway, we are going to skip that. I'm going to just go to the libraries, and you mentioned some really important things. So what I'm going to do is, because I've got over 4,000 lines and over 400 right, added to the other stuff, right? Is it depending if I've put something in there or I've, acquired something, I can go into here, let's say Key Aroma Shop. I might want to look at something from there. It says, oh, we should do some helichrysum and some star anise. I could just hit this cute little thing called Quick Balance, and I would give you the frequencies of all those essential oils. So anything that's in the red and the blue, anything for the symptoms or the dormant causes, you would be receiving an aromatherapy complimentary without paying for it from Key Aroma. Don't tell them that yet. Anyway, so we're going to go on here. So all those things are really nice. What I like to do, let's say if I've picked some things from, True Hope companies or parasite purgings or whatever they might be in here. But more importantly, we have libraries. And those are the libraries that I made. So I can take a look at it. So let's say someone said, let's start with one of the first things you said. Is there any kind of trauma? Again, it could be many different ways of having trauma, right? So we can look at all the trauma and anything to do with brain trauma, getting stuck, tension I've made for post-traumatic stress, breathing, different kind of exercises that are really known to do that. We could go into any one of these for motivation. So anything that you can think of in here, and we'll do you talked about post-traumatic stress disorder. Wow, we got quite a few of those in here too. So we can do an assessment. We could maybe look at solutions.
Can I tell you something? As soon as you went into trauma, all of a sudden my throat, I wasn't allowed to really have a voice as a kid. All of a sudden my throat is closing up and I want to cough.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And again, we're talking, you remember it's a healing, it's better than Reiki, it's better than Theta, any of those different things I've ever used, because it's you healing yourself. And it's not unusual to have clients start, having emotional releases right at that point, or pain gone or something like that, or shift. You can feel temperatures and you will feel actually vibrations here. I've actually done it with cats and stuff like that, and had a woman say, My cats all sat in front of the TV and they all detoxed and vomited. But thank you, because I know you detoxed them, you know? And that was one of the funniest shows I ever did, actually. And did some steaming while I was on that. But one of the other things too is, let's say we could look at sleep. Do I have anything like in a dictionary? Is there sleep, emergency, EMS sleep? Do I need to use some Valorin or some different things like that, or peace and calming at night? And again, using any of those words, just like my Rife machine, you can go into insomnia, those things are in here. Again, are we looking at digestive? A lot of stuff is all digestive. That's why I got into colon hydrotherapy. Everything is digestive. Then there might be some healing immunes, or maybe we're going to suggest a rejuvenation program and things like that. You mentioned about the nervous system, and I like to do a lot of things. You could put in back, you could put in spine, and you can see I've made a whole bunch of it. Says have some therapy sessions with me. Back and spine, anti-inflammatory. I made a whole section as well on pain, because a lot of people have pain. So I've made my own ligatures and different tinctures and stuff like that. Some people do better with heat, like a cayenne pepper tiger balm version that I make, which I can teach you to do. And some people do better cold, like doing peppermint essential oils on you with DSMO and then put a hot wet towel on or something like that. So everyone's got a different version. One of the things you mentioned about that's very important, I have one for what we call sexual abuse and ritual abuse. So you will see oils even called like SARA, which are basically for sexual abuse, ritual abuse, but SARA is an actual oil that was produced by Young Living at 102 megahertz to go directly into the areas or peace and calming or inner child or releasing or forgiveness. So a lot of these things are there. You can go in right into the toxins when I do things that say like I have blood. You can see here a dark field. You can see if you in one of those areas that has got, I call the fog, a fog fire flood. Right? Then I made essential oils for radiate and renew. A lot of radiation, and there are a lot of things like castor oil or different things. We talked about radiation or using foot compresses. I talked about onions or doing foot body patches, either buying them or making yourselves. You can see that will draw out toxins as well. And if you like different kinds of therapies, there's always, I've got lots of different things, maybe what kind of tuning fork. So tuning forks could be really fun. So even getting which one's in here. So just for something fun, one of the easiest things I like to do is cheat. I don't call it biofeedback for dummies, but it's my cheating version here. And so one of the things is to go to today's stress. And from there, you could either just hit quick balance, which again, your timer's on the right. You just addressed it. The other thing is that you have the ability to not only do just one category, right? So I can look at your spine, where I can cheat and go, okay, let's look at all the ones that are subluxed and pinched off, that my spine doesn't want to move. Or there's some inflammation, which might be a low-grade virus, bacteria, or something like that, creating trauma in the body. So we have different ways to look at it. And again, how quick is that? Is to hook that up. And then that way you could do with your own headphones or sensors or something like that. And then also put this sound or the tones, the frequency into the water and make your own homeopathics, or put your essential oils on, and then it will derive that internally and externally. This can be interesting to see what you do. One of the things you mentioned about throat and thyroid, we have an oil called Sacred Mountain, because that's a fear of getting our truth out and talking. So there are a lot of things I built in here too. Let's say they're based on people's books. So if you got a, feelings buried alive, never die, or releasing emotional, patterns, negative patterns and stuff with essential oils. So instead of doing tapping and EFT, even those things are built within mine because I've done that. So one of the things I like to do is called cheat. It's fast track actually is what we're doing here. Is I'm going to go to Access General Overview. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add the top 50 things. So that's everything. So if I have 40,000, those are the top red things. If I go back in here again, we are going to go to that overview as well. And what I can do is remove the libraries. So here I could add the top red things again. So gallbladder, fungus, pituitary. And again, now I've got like quite a few things at the bottom, like 100 guaranteed of frequencies. What I can do is also then look at what's called create a playlist. And so based on this, it's going to take the top different things, that we've analyzed, and we're going to send it to your quanta caps. You get to listen to that for another week. And those are kind of fun. So, again, I would think usually, about 20 minutes 20 to 30 minutes morning and night, or you can even play it during, people don't know this, while they're sleeping. And what you can do is actually put the timer to 0, plug it in the room, and you're going to create something, or put your water glass on top of it or a crystal and create your own array. So this is something that we've now looked at our 100 top things that we want for you that you have picked out, not me. I've assisted by maybe adding in, some of the things I've made or some of my knowledge, but it will do it. So here it says it really wants to do a stress relief and immune thing. So we've looked at some fungus, and we've looked at larch and vine and lemongrass and iodine. So all these things here, it might be an allergy to penicillin or something, or you were near someone that had one. Doesn't mean that you have it. And again, we would just export this directly to you here. And off it goes. And with the sections, I'll just call it a stress buster. That's what I just about said stress. Stress tones, busters, or boostings, or whatever you want to do. So we'll just send that off to you within seconds. So those are different things. And so we're going to play for a few minutes here. And I don't know if you have any questions, because you're going to start feeling things through your system, and it could be physically, mentally, emotionally. One of the other things as well, we're going to hit and open this up. So all these 100 things are going to be given to you. And we've exported it to you. We can play with the timer. And as I said, if you go to 0, you can listen to it all night or all day. And I've got a picture of the house. You can do your house and do feng shui, by the way. Yeah. Where you take the water and put it into your thing for water blessings, or for smudging and spritzing around. So if we hit the play button, we begin our session. And normally if I'm not talking to anyone, as you know, or trying to put a video together, you can have this done in less than 5 minutes. So in here, I feel nurtured. So there's an affirmation for you today. So you can even just do one thing and hit play. If you really feel something resonates, or we can hit all the red or all the blue, or actually do all of them. So it's interesting in here that we're seeing insomnia and stuff like that, melatonin. There could be dairy. So maybe there's some dairy coming in, or wheat, or allergies and stuff like that. But a lot of times what I'll just do is rosemary, different things, clematis. And you can see what's interesting there is the bladder and stuff like that, getting to the mid-calf and stuff. So we could just hit all of them.
I've had pain in my left calf for months.
There you go.
And you're saying that's my bladder.
Isn't that cool? So I'm looking at the bladder, back to my acupuncture meridians, right? And so, and there's a tooth and stuff like that. There's something we call functional zones. A lot of people don't use it, but just if you haven't used it, one of the things is when you get into the functional considerations, it will not go until you hit one on the left. Most people don't know that. So if you hit the functional, it's going to give me another 8 things to kind of look at, 8 kind of things. And so what I might do is add a couple more in. It could be the location you're living in. There could be some tissue stuff, or maybe there's something like a geophysical, like a feng shui of the area. So basically what we're going to do, we are going to add a couple more, like 2 more things into here. So it's looking for that. Sure it is. EMF and radiation, radioactivity. So now we've got 103. We're going to add that into the pool, and now we're going to toss it up and say, now what else? So every time you add something, it's like, well, what if? And it's tapping into the subconscious. So it's in our biofield. We may not be aware. Isn't that interesting? Biofires, as we were talking about that. Yeah. And sometimes we know people in them, and you and I were talking. You got people going into our fire zones here in evac zones, right?
I have family in BC that are in those areas.
And isn't that funny? We were talking about that off air before we came in here, didn't we? Where to warn them. Yeah. Isn't that one of the things? So it's almost like a grocery list, a shopping list. Where do we need to start? So let's listen to it. We have about 2 minutes left in our show today. It's amazing how 40 minutes goes like that. And I'm interested to see, one, just in listening to it for a minute, where you're noticing something. If you close your eyes and just put your feels out, keep our feet flat, and that's where sometimes I will use tuning forks on top of it. I will also use, different modalities like matrix energetics, a little different than Reiki and stuff, so you can combine techniques like that. So as I'm looking through that,
I feel it mostly in my head and in my feet. You're such an expert on everything. I'm so impressed. I'm so very grateful for you. Thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure to do it. So we've got about a minute left. You can get a hold of me at Karen Ann Lusick McDonald. I am on Facebook, and I am also on klanmother13 at Gmail with the K, because there is a klanmother with a C, by the way. She gets my email on occasion. So one of those things, if you have any questions or want to try out the Genius, the BioVibe, the Quanta Cap, we have a voice thing, you're more than welcome to get a hold of me, because those would be some of the fun things to do. I have many albums and many different things you might be wanting to try here. So if we take a look at that, I'd be happy to help you. I'm at Kieran Ann McDonald, and also I'm on Kieran K.A. Lusick on there as well. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and we're going to take a few minutes breaks.